We're going to move on now to the two men who actually are confirmed for the world title match at WrestleMania. Stephanie McMahon was caught in the middle of a showdown between Batista and Randy Orton. They attempted to appeal to her better judgment and delivered pleas to Triple H to leave well enough alone and just be satisfied with defeating Daniel Bryan at WrestleMania because he has no chance in the main event. The segment ended with Stephanie slapping Batista and Batista spearing Orton. We've said before on the show, actually last week, I asked the question, who are the two most important people in the world title picture? And it just so happens to be the two people who are fighting for a chance to get in the match. So the least important people are the ones who are actually there. Did this segment do anything to change that fact?
You want to talk about downhill. This segment was a perfect illustration of this road to WrestleMania and how it's been. You got Stephanie, she comes out. She's brilliant. She handles the crowd beautifully. She comes off as a bitch. She comes off as a great authority figure. Everything is wonderful. Then Randy Orton comes out. He tries. He gives it his best effort. He's not exactly sure how to handle the crowd, so it makes for some awkward, interactions between him and Stephanie. The crowd is kind of getting in his head, a lot like those voices that he keeps talking about is in his head. And then you have Batista. And the whole shit just stops right there. First of all, why the fuck is it so hard for him to get out WWE? Like, say it with me, goddammit. WWE World Heavyweight Title. Where the fuck is the E, Batista? What the fuck? And then this dude, I say it every week. He is trash on this microphone, Jay. He is so bad on this mic. And the whole thing with him talking about how Steph has been drooled over a lot. Like, where the fuck did that come from? What place does that have in anything that's going on in this feud? You know what I mean? So, it's so frustrating. It's so fucking frustrating because Batista just ruins everything. Like Randy Orton, at least he's out there giving it his best effort, even though, he may not have the superior mic skills or the mental state to be able to handle some of the stuff that the crowd is throwing at him right now. But Batista dude, come on, man. Like it was a train wreck. It's the minute that he walked out, everything just went fuck. Poof. It's like that clip that you were talking about, that you see it coming, but you just can't stop.
Well, I would officially like to sympathize with David because I am also experiencing the issue whereby Raw just runs on reruns on Monday nights now. I don't know what the hell is up with that with my TV. I have to call my cable company. But it's constantly this opening segment of one of the Authority and Batista and Randy Orton, and it never goes anywhere in terms of Batista and Randy Orton. Stephanie came out, had a good little segment, and Randy Orton comes out and again has the most awkward segment with Stephanie where they're like, Stephanie's going when he beats him, and Randy Orton's like stumbling over his words to like include that, and like it was just weird. They were like correcting each other and they were stumbling, and it was kind of awful. And then Batista comes out, and that's just an absolute hot ass mess. Credit to Jay, but an absolute train wreck. I can't stand this promo. Did you know Batista's been saying since day one that he's came back for the World Heavyweight Championship? Is everybody aware of that by now?
The WWE World Heavyweight Championship.
It is just like the same old crap. He doesn't know what to say, so he spits out the shit he said last week, the shit that was written for him upon his return. It's just
Emphasis
we don't know
spit.
We don't know where we're going. He spears, or he does the worst spear ever, kills a kitten and rips his pants in the process, and we are just in a fucking train wreck for the two people confirmed to be in the WrestleMania main event.
Oh, Charlie, you haven't heard? We're not calling that the spear. That is officially the kitten killer. That's the name of that move.
Yeah, man. It's really telling the shape that the creative team is in. These people really wanted. Can you imagine what it would have been like if we actually had the original plan of Batista versus Randy Orton? How many weeks of suffering we would have had to gone through? I mean, we've been suffering, but what we would have had to have gone through had the original plans went through, this would have been a disaster. I mean, it's a disaster, but not the disaster of epic proportions that it could have been. This opening segment is quite honestly the worst segment I have seen in years. Batista does not know what company he is in, apparently. The World Wrestling whatever. We got the longest damn championship name in the history, completely unnecessary. We got Randy Orton just giggling like a schoolgirl. Stephanie McMahon, God bless her heart, she tried her damnedest to save this segment, but it just did not help. Batista nearly had a heart attack just going through his sentences. What the hell is going on with this company? Our main attraction for the biggest title in the history of professional wrestling, the history of sports entertainment, if you will. And it is a joke. It is an absolute tragedy. Eddie Guerrero is rolling in his grave. Batista is terrible, man. Batista is the reason why Walter White has cancer. Batista is the worst. Damn. This is the worst Royal Rumble winner. Honestly, he is worse than Lex Luger. I'm going out there. Lex Luger did not headline WrestleMania. This jackass, week after week, comes in and says, I am doing what I told you for the past 3 months. I'm headlining We don't care. Actually, no, we do care. We're upset because you're headlining WrestleMania. We don't want you to do that. You clearly do not have any talent. You're not in shape enough to finish a goddamn sentence. I mean, who the hell comes up with this kind of crap? What were they thinking? Why is Batista in this company?
Like, what the fuck was going on when they went through and thought of this segment that afternoon?
I had no idea. It's like they were thinking the fans have no idea what Batista's coming back to do. He has no motivation whatsoever. Like, well, what the hell is going on? It's like they just threw this thing together and said, yeah, you know what? Yeah, let's just have him say what he said last week. Don't worry about it. I mean, Jesus Christ, man. Thank God I didn't go to this Raw.
Well, David, you said that this was our headline for WrestleMania. I am not claiming that shit. I'm like one of those low-down dirtbags on Maury. The baby ain't mine. It ain't mine. I'm not claiming this shit. Okay? So, but now that I got that out of the way, I just want to start off by saying condolences to anyone who suffered at the hands of Batista on Monday Night Raw. Because every time Batista does a spear, a kitten dies. So, hashtag save the kittens.
It's not a spear.
Seriously. Yes, the kitten killer. Seriously, this was a hilariously bad segment for Batista. He starts out with the mic botch, then he gets the douchebag slapped out of his ass in the form of his sunglasses that he was wearing inside being slapped off his face, and then his pants rip. If that isn't a perfect commentary on this entire run in WWE, then I don't know what is. Botch after botch after fucking botch. As far as Randy Orton is concerned, the only newsworthy thing he did here was remind me that he's still the fucking champion. Daniel Bryan and Triple H are shouldering so much of the build for this world title match that I seriously wouldn't care at all if Orton and Batista were on the go-home show or not. Hell, you know what? I would care. I would prefer they weren't there, to be honest. They should go on a road trip to WrestleMania and start walking right now so that they're occupied during next week's show, because shit, they're not doing anything for me at all.
I heard that Randy Orton already started his entrance.
Shit, hopefully he's still walking down the ramp in New Orleans when we get to Monday Night Raw next week, because they're not doing anything for me at all. Thank the Lord for Stephanie, because she was the only redeeming thing about this segment. Like, it was so fucking sloppy. And like you said, David, the fact that this, if everything went according to plan, the way the WWE wanted it to go, that would be the main event. That would be the title match for WrestleMania. Randy Orton and Batista. And to look at where they are now, the fact that they're fucking irrelevant in a match that was supposed to be theirs. It's crazy to think that. But it's the fucking truth. That's the reality that we live in right now.
It's amazing. I can't even remember who the champion. Like, the title could be vacant at this point. There could be no champion, and it would not feel any differently. It's just amazing how the champion just does not even feel like the champion. He doesn't feel like a focal point. He's not a focal point. He's not being treated like it. He's losing to Daniel Bryan every week. It's pretty much an absolute joke at this point. The only thing that can benefit him is losing that title and going into some sort of feud with the Authority, possibly, or some sort of route like that. You cannot keep the title on him. They are not behind him in any way. It's almost like they're treating him as a U.S. champion at this point. He has to lose that belt. There's really no other option.
You talk about the title being irrelevant. Are you talking about Randy Orton or CM Punk in 2012?
Randy Orton's been far worse.
You just have to throw that in there, didn't you?
I'm just saying. Look, I warned you. Any attempt to keep this shit on track after that fucking episode of Raw, I'm just derailing the fuck out of everything right now.
Hijack PWTR.
It's a movement.
But seriously, anything more? No, there's not anything more to say on this. We're moving on.
Hint decision. We're moving on.
Yes.
Yes.